Hey now, good morning, PASW staff, clients, friends joining us for Monday, Film Scoring Monday. We've been doing TV scoring. We did a lot of that last year. We're going to do some of that this year as well, but I'm going to mix it up with TV and film scoring and all those kind of things. Welcome. This is where we look at a scene and I take out the music, I put some Foley in there, and you guys kind of replicate what the soundtrack is. What this is music supervision. Maybe we'll be writing some original music at the studio. We'll see. This is one of my favorite classes to do with you guys because you guys, I can tell you guys search and look at YouTube and Spotify and see what other pieces could fit just as well. And also to see how music can make or break a scene, how it can change the whole tone of a scene just by changing the piece of music. Same action, same dialogue, same lighting, same costume, different piece of music. All of a sudden becomes a whole different kind of movie just with one scene. That's really cool, the power of music like that. So we looked at E.T. last week and revisited your results and re-looked at the movie. Great Spielberg fantasy movie. Today's going to be a little bit scarier, but it's okay. You don't have to watch the movie, and you shouldn't if you're uncomfortable with certain films, because this is a very dark, provocative movie. And part of what makes dark and provocative is the score, actually. If you were to take away all the music in the movie, it'd still be creepy but and provocative, but not as much. And we're going to look at the score and a certain scene. So today we're going to look at the great film Eyes Wide Shut.
I have seen one or two things in my life, but never anything like this.
Eyes Wide Shut is by Stanley Kubrick. We know Kubrick. We looked at 2001 Space Odyssey, The Dawn of Man, that one of the most famous scenes in all of movie history. Even Barbie gave tribute to that and kind of parodied it in a sense. 1999, Kubrick's last movie, but he was known for provocative movies, dark humor, beautiful cinematography, long list of movies, and we could score all of his because mostly known for using, in terms of music, classical music. A lot of classical music in place of, rather than having an original composer. And that piece we heard at the opening is Shostakovich, and we're going to look at Shostakovich on Thursday. We're going to have another look at Shostakovich, so we'll get into him later. But this is a 1999 movie that Kubrick died before it was finished, before it was released, rather. It's an erotic mystery produced and directed by the auteur, the great auteur Kubrick, and based on a novella from 1926. And Kubrick updated it to be in New York, although it's all shot in London. It looks a lot like New York, but he was scared to travel. So even though he was born in the Bronx, all of Kubrick's movies, and especially later in his life, were in England on sound stages. And it's a psychological erotic thriller. And of course, the famous Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, they were married at that time. They are husband and wife, and he is a famous doctor. Not famous, but very successful doctor. And it's a lot about jealousy, and only takes place over a few days. There's some pretty provocative dynamics in their relationship. A lot about she tells him one night, her husband Tom Cruise, in the movie, that she's had fantasies about this officer, and he gets called to see a patient, and so he walks the streets of New York and can't get the image out of his mind that his wife may have been unfaithful to him. It turns out she wasn't, but she convinced him so much in a way that was that kind of scared him. So he's wandering the streets and unsure about who he's married to. What it makes him question all of these things, and he stumbles upon a piano player that he went to medical school with, and who he met at a party a few nights ago. So he sees him at this piano gig late at night, and his friend says, "Oh, I have another gig later tonight, but it doesn't start till 2 a.m. or something, and you need a password." So Tom Cruise is very intrigued because he doesn't want to go home because he's figuring things out. He tells him the password, but says you have to go get a tuxedo and a mask and a cloak because the gig I'm playing later is very exclusive. And Tom Cruise tells him, well, okay, just give me the password and you won't have any affiliation. They won't know that that you told me, because he's out for a night of adventure. He stumbles into this big mansion saying the password, and just discovers this whole underground society of orgies, of everyone in masked, the cloak, and very uncomfortable. And he gets very scared because they even though there's hundreds and hundreds of people in this mansion, they all know that he's an outsider, and he has no idea why. And they test him, and they scare him, and it's very scary. He leaves. He gets kicked out and escorted out, pretty much, for being not one of the elite, and yet he's still intrigued about what he had seen that night and who these people were. And this is going to set up the scene we're going to look at. This the music in this is, a lot of it is Shostakovich, but the music that we're going to be listening to for this particular scene is by Ligeti. Ligeti was a very famous composer, Hungarian Austrian composer, classical music, contemporary classical music. So this music sounds like film music, and it could be, but it was completely not written for that at all. Ligeti wrote this around in the 50s, in the early 1950s, and we're going to hear that it's terrifying, even though it's just a piano. So the scene we're going to look at is when Bill Hartford, Tom Cruise, the next day goes back to this castle, this mansion where all these terrible things happened, and he just can't get over the fact that what was going on here, and he goes the next day to there to see if he can find some more information out. So take a look at the scene. It's scary, although really when we look at it and deconstruct it afterwards, it's very simple and basic. So this is him going back the next day trying to find out more information about what he saw from the night before. So let's take a look at the scene. It's frightening, right? I mean, already but the piano music, it's two notes. It's very much like Jaws did with John Williams' Jaws, where he had those two notes, right? Two notes, and they're semitones. They're just half step. very uncomfortable. If you changed it to two notes sounding a major third, a whole different ball game. Minor third, okay, you're getting scary. A semitone, just a quarter step up or below, now you're getting really scary. But it's just two notes when you think about it. So they tell him, leave us alone, get out of here, pretty much. So now he's even more confused. Okay, so that piano and the tremolo comes in. It's really scary. Let's take a look at the scene again with Foley, no music, and let's see what you think. Okay, so nonetheless, it's scary because the guy doesn't say anything, hands him the letter, but not as scary without that terrifying score of just a piano. It's not a huge orchestra, it's just a piano, and this is what Ligeti is doing. Kubrick used this score, and it's a recurring motif throughout the movie. When we hear this plenty of times, several times in very uncomfortable ways, where it'll just kind of come into the scene, those two notes, and terrify the audience, even though you're not really even seeing anything terrifying. There's another scene we were going to look at, but I didn't show you, where he's just walking at night down the street, and then that music comes in, and the audience and the viewers, oh my gosh, what's happening? Something's going to happen. It's very scary, but again, just a piano playing two notes. How could that be, right? So exciting how cool music is. So I want you to find a piece of music to fit that scene of him going to those gates, which is already a little bit scary, but it doesn't have to be solo piano. But see how scary you can make it. Think of some options. It should be scary. This is very terrifying. His life, they find out about his family, his life. They find out a lot about his name. He didn't give them any of this information. These are very powerful people. And later in the story, we find that his friend found out how he got into the party. And he says, what were you even thinking being there? If I told you who was at that party, you wouldn't sleep so well. So maybe some important, powerful people were there. We don't know. It's a mystery. So find some music that can be very scary like that. Don't use Jaws, because that's going to be comical, because that's so famous already. But find something that enhances this. This is so different than what we did with the Christmas Story, waking up on Christmas morning. But again, I like to challenge you guys to sometimes we go into scarier places, and that's good, all within using music though, right? Okay, so get something to me by Tuesday or something. We're going to see your results for Friday. We're going to relook at Shostakovich on Thursday. So we got a busy week. Okay, pleasure sharing this with you. Have a great rest of the day, and see you Thursday. Okay, bye.